Um, Isaias, why don't you open up the FFmpeg class that we've developed? Let's just talk a little bit about what's in there. We've been using that a lot lately
Yeah,
in a lot of our tools. One thing alone is just to say if it's currently on your computer, and if not, it will auto ask to download it for you, which is really cool.
that is correct. Here in particular, FFmpeg here is a class that we can do a lot of stuff with, but the main idea here is not so much as information, right? It's more about the actions that we can do with it. There's a few things that we started noticing that we're doing over and over again. So we started kind of like creating little functions. For example, trimming a given video. You give it the video in, where you want to save it, and how many seconds you want between the two. All right. So you want 10 seconds. So you want it from the start 10 to 20. So you will get 10 seconds in between. That's what you're doing. And it could be as many seconds as you want, 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes, and stuff like that. So the point is, you tell it where to start and how many seconds you need between this and that, and it will trim your video. We have a tool that is specifically for those kind of things. Adding subtitles to a video. This one has been so useful. And basically, you give it a video path, a subtitle path, and whether you want to hard code them or not. Hard code means, the subtitles are going to be burnt into the video. So whenever the video passes around, they don't need an extra file. But at the same time, that means you cannot turn off the subtitles because they're part of the image of the video. So that you cannot turn them off. If you don't hard code them, then you have a file, an SRT file usually, and you can turn the subtitles on and off if you wanted them.
And
That's basically what it is all about. Here,
Isaias, let me ask you a
yep,
quick question on that. Not I don't mean to sidetrack you, but it occurred because also I use Handbrake a lot, right? And then I
yes,
realized, hey, you can you can some way embed, and I don't know if it's just MKVs, you can embed the SRT file in the video, but it's
that's
not.
correct.
Yeah. Is it just MKVs? Because I don't think MP4s do they do that?
MP4s don't do that. So
Oh,
what we're talking about here is the container.
yeah.
So you can have the same video in different containers. So you can say is an MP4 file that is inside an MP4 container, which is very common. But you can have an MP4 file in an MKV container. The MKV has the video stream, has audio streams, and it also contains stuff like subtitles and so on. But there are some containers that don't have that. MP4 is one of them. The MP4 just deals with the video itself. It doesn't have anything for subtitles in it. I don't know which other. I think the
Hmm.
QuickTime container maybe have it, but I don't know of many of them. I think that's the reason why you see so many NKVs right now. Like a lot of places just have NKVs because they have, you know,
Yeah,
two,
more. Yeah.
three audio streams, one in English,
Right.
one in French, one in whatever, and then two or three subtitle strings as well.
Right. And it keeps them literally, like you said, contained, so you don't have all
Yes.
these SRT files sitting around.
Right.
They're embedded into the container itself, which is just really nice and convenient. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah. If we are looking at some other stuff like converting a video just to audio, just extracting the audio from a video is basically what's happening. Just give it a path and what format you want for that audio. And you can have a few formats, MP3, MP4, or OGG for now. Stuff like that. So we basically, I don't know what creating section is for. I think in this case, we did this for something that had to do with
Longer.
AI. And we didn't want to send them
Yeah.
uh,
So
one big file.
if you have a 2 hour long video and you try to
Right.
send it off to AI to whisper, it will break. Like it'll block
Yes.
and have you have these weird issues. So this divides it up into time lengths and automatically loops over them for you right into those chunks.
Yeah. I think Irfan did this. But I'm not quite sure how we came up with the idea of, yeah, let's grab this big file split it into seconds, and then for each section, use FFmpeg to trim that section. You see, the trim function that I mentioned before now is really useful for doing what I said here. Oh, we want 30-minute chunks. Well, the trim function allows me to grab that particular video, where I'm going to start, where I'm going to end. And these variables here are just keeping track, because in every iteration, we kind of like move these up, right? So really cool.
It's almost like the file object in that you're going to get a specific area of that file. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
you know.
So again, we got a lot of little type of functions. This one is really great because it tells us what type of video we're getting. What type of video we're getting, what type of audio, and so on. And here it returns a whatever it was, whether it's a video or an audio. That's the only thing that we wanted to know. But FFmpeg gives you a lot of information about a video, by the way. So as FFmpeg gives you a lot of information, we have to kind of like extract what we wanted. We have to regex match a few things because it's a very big chunk of information. So again, we did include something about getting microphone and devices because we can use FFmpeg to record, to start a recording. And this recording right now is audio recording, by the way. And we divided it into 4 or 5 functions. One of them is to set up the recording, in which you tell it which mic you want to use and where you want to save your stuff. So it's kind of like a setup process. And then we have these 3 options: start, pause, and stop. And all those options are doing is using this other function called control process, which, by the way, I'm going to be using in a different script soon for pausing Dropbox before I do anything. So this control process, I'll do exactly the same, which is some DLL calls that we have in there. Let me see, hold on. Yeah, there it is, DLL calls. And while I do that, I will, instead of giving it FFmpeg, which is what it's doing, I'm just going to give it, for example, Dropbox. And I want to kind of like pause that particular process or whatever. So this class is really cool. And as Joe mentioned at the beginning, one of the things that we do, we have a variable here called FFmpeg path. And if you, at any point, you want to know where it is, or you want to run it, you can do FFmpeg path, and you can say run, and then whatever it is you want to do, you can run FFmpeg with some parameters, and you just pass your parameters here, right? That's fine. But this variable is what we call a dynamic variable. These guys are not dynamic, they're static. You give it a value and that's it, that's the value. This is not like that. Every time you call it, every time you try to get the path, this happens. It is a function that happens. What happens? Well, we try to get the environment variables, and if the path, I try to go within my paths and see if one of them contains FFmpeg right there. If I do that and I find it, I put it in a variable. If I don't find it, what is going to happen is that this thing is going to try to read from the registry into a temporary environment that is there and see if I got it there, right? If I still don't find it, then we can actually set up this guy. Let me see how, where I do this. Oh, the setup, I have it here. Where is it? Yeah. One of the things that we do as soon as you include your FFmpeg, as soon as you include it in your script, this function gets called. And what it does is it checks whether FFmpeg is in this computer, at least if we have the environment variable for it. And if we don't find it, we call the setup. And the setup function just goes ahead and downloads FFmpeg if we want it and puts it wherever we need it. And as soon as we save that information, then now you don't have to manually download FFmpeg every time. It just If it doesn't find it, downloads it, put it in a place for you. And then after it saves it, now it never asks you for that again because it knows where it is. So it's kind of like a little setup process, which is great. So hopefully that is enough information for you to get an idea of what the FFmpeg class does. Why do we talk about FFmpeg? FFmpeg is one of those libraries that powers the whole internet. You have no idea how many projects use FFmpeg. Like right now, Zoom is using FFmpeg, VS Code uses FFmpeg, Chrome, and many other like big tools. They use FFmpeg on the background. So learning about it and knowing the basics is good as a programmer because you will find yourself into a lot of situations that you have to program around video and stuff.
Well, or audio. But and
Yes,
we've used it in, I'd say, at least a dozen tools, and it's just really amazing what you can do with it. Incredibly powerful. It's insanely powerful.
definitely. I think right now,
Actually,
if you're doing anything that had to do with video, I wouldn't use anything else.
Isaiah, show the it's under the AI folder. It's the translate and subtitle.
Yes.
So this one, I thought it was real. I was really surprised this morning. Irf and I were looking at it. I thought because in our other tools we use the assembly AI for transcription, and then I thought we were using ChatGPT for the translation. Well, when we looked at the code, we're like, no, it's all ChatGPT. We're using Whisper in that tool, but it
On this one, you mean, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I think it is ChatGPT, the whole thing.
entirely, yeah. So
I think so, yes.
then I'm like, oh crap. Well, that means we can easily sell this one because we're going to add the preference to choose your token, get your API token from ChatGPT. Um, so here you pick your source language and then you pick your burn-in language and obviously your video, but you can choose. Now there's a list of like 30. We only list some here because it was just too many. I didn't want to have them, it's rare I go outside these, so I just we changed the GUI to only show certain ones, but in the code it's all there. But what was really cool was we did a webinar for our client tomorrow, and the speaker was a non-native English speaking person, and I told my client, I'm like, hey, we can go from English to English and just burn in the English subtitles into the video so people on the webinar will live be seeing what she's saying also, right? So it was really cool. However, the client said, "Hey, some of the things that the AI transcription did were incorrect. Can we change those? Because there's certain people's names and one thing she was saying Mani and like Mani, and she was chanting it Mani Mani, and it said money money money, and I'm like, yeah, that's so not what's supposed to be there. So Irfan added the that pause to review checkbox. So now, if you turn that on, it will do the transcriptions, stop, let you edit what the transcriptions. You could go and review them. I copied them, pasted them back into ChatGPT using the O3 model and said, "Hey, where might there be some errors?" And it spotted a bunch of them. So I went and fixed it and then burned them back into the video. But what I realized with this tool was really cool was, like I said, I have a lot of videos and movies and things I watch, but I love having transcriptions in them, and I always have to go to like Handbrake and find the transcription files. I'm like, I can feed them all to this thing. I don't have to go manually do that. I can just drag them in here and it's done for me. If I want to change the language, if someone was a native French speaker, I can have this thing put up the French subtitles, right? Automatically. Like that's just really amazing. So anyway, so that one will be available here to sell pretty soon, I hope.